Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the RPR podcast. I am JClazzified. Today, we have a special gentleman with us. We have Rel McCoy. I'm not going to say too much. I'm going to let him introduce himself. What we always like to hear is, who you are, where you're from, what it is you do in terms of vocation, artistically. I like to keep it humble and have your strengths and weaknesses. And my favorite of the introductions is always, if you have a superpower that you would care to divulge with the world. I know secret identity is a big thing. So some cats, you don't want to know who Superman is. So Clark got to throw them glasses on or whatever. But yeah, man, the floor is yours, man. Let the people know who we're sitting down with today.
Yeah, well. First of all, thanks for having me through, man, and respect for being so generous and humble, with your intro with me and stuff like that. And I really appreciate that your kind words and everything about you say like I'm a chill good hearted guy, and
Yeah,
I don't
man.
really hear that. I don't really hear that all too often. But I mean, I don't really roam in all kinds of different circles either. So, well, look, my name is Rel McCoy, aka Relic the Oddity, and I've been producing and rapping and mixing songs and recording songs for a really long time, and I've been doing sort of my own independent like artistry stuff on the full time for quite a while as well. And I make hip hop records that I hope people will feel and vibe out to, but at the same time I don't really play to an audience. I do what I feel, I do whatever I want, and then people could just take it however they want to as well. On top of that, you saying like, yo, this guy's a golden hearted dude like that means more to me because I know that I did what was in my heart instead of just following some trends or whatever it is. And if my music changes, you know that it changes because I'm changing. You know what I'm saying? Not just because the trends are changing or what's going to get more streams and more views or whatever it is. And yeah, man, I'm from Toronto, originally from Toronto, Canada, and that's where I came up, and it's basically did my thing. Been toured across Canada, across the states, Japan, Australia, did shows in China, and now
Yeah.
I'm living here. I'm living here in Spain. I'm a little bit outside of Madrid in Spain right now, and this is home for me right now. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, man. I mean, that's quite a, I want to say, like globetrotter esque and very sounds like well traveled, right? I think about, sometimes we think about culture, and when you go to different places, sometimes you have culture shock, whether it be the cuisine, whether it be the speed of which something is lived out. I
hmm
think about some of the places, and this is kind of extreme, but like Amsterdam, or places where in particular, maybe like drugs are legal, right? So
hmm
then you find you don't have as many maybe people that are addicted or that are overdosing, because they say, okay, here's the drug, here's the needle, here's the epinephrine or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And it's like,
hmm
that's a whole. And then places where they don't have gun issues, right? There's not as many gun issues because, like, guns aren't really a big thing here. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's
yeah.
just the way that culture is. To just get a picture in our mind's eye for, whether it be the westernized people in America, or even Canada. What is one of the differences or similarities that you find the most with Spain versus your home country of coming up in Canada? Like, when you made that move, right? What was some of the first initial things where you're like, oh wow, that's different and this is interesting? You know what I'm saying?
Well, I had been here a couple of times prior to moving here, and so I knew that it was a place that I would really like to be, just based on the initial stuff, like you're saying, like this initial feeling of there's somewhat of a culture shock, obviously, because there's a language difference, and
Yeah.
there are definitely cultural things that happen differently here than at home. But I love the food, I love the atmosphere, I love the heart of people, I basically love how inviting people are here. But one of
Mm,
the main things that I noticed here that was different than at home was I went to a live show that was like a hip hop slash jazz slash funk show in Madrid. back in, I guess it was February or March now. And that was like the first like show that I've been here because of COVID and everything or whatever. That was the first show that I've been to in a long time anywhere, actually. And that we got in there and the place was packed, and I had been invited by a friend of mine here who said like, look, you need to be here and meet some people. So I was like, cool. So we sat down, I had a drink, and I was there talking to my wife and just sort of looking around and just seeing what was happening. I got this feeling, and I was like, man, this is not like Toronto. Like, what is it?
Yeah.
What is going on? And I realized I was seeing people that were smiling at each other, people that were like embracing each other, people that were obviously, from the way they were conducting each other, there was no bad vibes, or like in Toronto, what we call stushy vibes, which is basically your nose in the air. There was none of that.
Yeah.
Which for me was so refreshing. And I didn't come here for music. I didn't move here for any musical thing. As far as I'm concerned, when I moved here, my music career was over. I didn't even think about it. I was like, there's more important things happening. Like there's important things that are going on in life, and this is where we're going.
Yeah.
And so when I saw that, I was like, okay, well, so maybe there is. I'm really excited to know what the music scene is like here now, because there really is a different atmosphere, like a different vibe altogether, just how people are treating each other, which is so. What do you call it? It's remedial. It's so basic. It's so ground floor that you think like, oh man, how could that be important? How could that change anything? But I really do think that changes the whole mindset of how artists treat each other and treat the crowd that they're interacting with. And I could just see it. Artists were doing their thing and they come off the stage and actually mingle with people. And it's not like that in Toronto. You have, and you know what? No, I'm not disrespecting Toronto at all, because I love where I came from and I love the people that are there. But you ask anybody that's from there though, and they know that you have to, you are nothing until you proven yourself to be something. And I think it's like that in a lot of places. But what's more than that is that you have these little sort of cliques where I don't know if this is where that stushy word came from, but at least like you guys are stush. You guys are over in the corner. You don't talk to anybody else except people you know. You don't interact with anybody, and everybody in every little group that's in the room thinks that they're the next to blow, and all this nonsense that just doesn't really matter when it comes to human interaction, which what I feel like is like that's what music is about, right?
I think music and life in general is about relationships. As I've gotten older, for me, that's something I prioritize, is really being intentional about relationship. And sometimes it throws people off in their guard, whether their guard goes up or their guard comes down, because they're like, what's up with this dude? Like, what does he want? What is his intentions? Why is he smiling at me? Why is he friendly? It's like, listen, I have no hidden agenda. Like, I love people. I think conversation is key. There's a cliche thing where it says communication is key, but it's like, then it says, well, communication's not just key, it's the comprehension, right? So I can communicate something, but if it's not comprehended on the other end, then we're at a stalemate, because it's like, oh, you're not processing what I'm saying. Like, you're misinterpreting and you're being a little stushy, my dude. You know what I'm saying? So the one thing I want to touch on with what you said, when you went over there, this was just life. This wasn't even a music thing. And maybe at this season or this chapter, you felt like maybe I, stepped away from the music. I have other things going on. So that's the first thing I would love to hear about, that, like, being in that space, because as a creative myself, I feel like it's something that it is not as natural as breathing. It's like more in creating, being in our element, pulling something out of thin air, taking something from nothing, breathing life into it, right? But then even furthermore, you have fans or followings that the legit ones will grow with you as you progress, and I want to go back to that as well, talk about kind of as discography goes, as we grow as artists, we bring different things, and the real ones stick with you and go through not necessarily your growing pains, but I would say your evolution, right? But then you were at this stage where you moved over there, you're doing life, maybe put music on the back burner a bit. And the fans, if you post something or a certain picture, when we getting a new album, it's like, bro, I just dropped the album 2 months ago. I know you haven't even ran through that because
Mm-hmm.
the punchlines, wordplays, metaphors, similes is all you can chew on that for about 3, 4, 5 months, maybe. You know what I'm saying? But we live in this microwave society where it's like on to the next one. That's why I think EPs have become so digestible, because it seems like the average consumer or listener, now whether it's a fair weather listener or someone who really loves the culture or loves the art, not even in terms of just hip-hop, but hearing your sound with jazz and soulful influences. But before I get ahead of myself, what was it that brought you to that place where you were like, whether, I'm sure the conversation was had with your wife and it's just like, babe, I'm gonna step away from the music, or even you as yourself saying like, I assume priorities were probably shifting, so can you talk on that? I know that was a lot.
No, that's cool. On the strength, like I left music behind 3 albums ago. Like that, I was like at least the last 2 records, let's say 2.5 records, because it was in the middle of doing my my record in 2016 called Gas Money.
Yeah.
I was
Dope.
diagnosed with thank you, man. I was diagnosed with a heart condition, and I was
Wow.
told like you got to have heart surgery and all this stuff. And then my mom found out she had cancer, and like and just things that my stepfather was getting sick, and my brother had a stroke that kind of messed him up a few years before. And there's all these things that were happening in life that just were not happening prior to that time.
Yeah.
And then for me, when I was, when I was going to that surgery and stuff, or when I came out of that surgery in late 2016, I just said to myself, like, what have I, the very first question that I asked myself when they told me you got a hole in your heart or whatever,
Mm.
was my first question was like, I was sitting there, I wasn't talking for like an hour. My wife was like, you haven't been speaking for like a couple hours, because I've just been sitting there thinking, like, what have I done with the last 10 years of my life? And
Wow.
like, if any of the 10 years of my life had mattered anything more than career, or I don't know, gaining ground with music or entertaining people or whatever. And those things are all important. I'm not negating the importance of those things. It's just that there are higher things to think about in the scale of your lifetime, especially if you feel like your life's about to be cut short, or you can go to the surgery and not come out of it, or whatever it is. So you just sort of start thinking on a higher level. So at that time I was just like, I have to figure out how I can do something that helps other people more, or that takes me out of the driver's seat a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like, and maybe that was a bit of an extreme way to think, because that's how you think extremely in extreme situations. So I went in. My dad was aging at the time, so I went to go help him with his business, and I spent some time doing that while I was figuring things out. And that in and of itself became a whole nother problem in my life. And then I decided to take some of the pressure off myself, and work with a label, to put out the next couple of records that I had. And that unfortunately didn't work at all how I thought that it worked.
Yeah.
And so I've sort of disconnected from that now. And so long story longer, to answer your question, like, before, what made the life change of like, I'm not sure if I'm in the music anymore, was just sort of like, I just have to think of bigger things. And eventually that thought process, literally 3 years later, or 4 years later, 2020, when we decided like, oh, like we gotta move to Spain, because my wife's mom lives here, and she has health problems, and we came here to help her, ultimately. And that's cool with me, man. Like, I was straight, man. Let's go. And music wise, I'll bring all of my stuff with me, and I'll set up here, and I'll still be making beats, and I'll still be writing, and still be doing what I'm doing. But I don't know what the end of all that is. So I don't want to. Maybe it's more comfortable to just act like you don't know,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Gas Money was the project you were working on amidst. So you mentioned the health complications, the heart issue. This was down the line when you pushed music to the back, or was this when you were creating Gas Money, or is there no
This
correlation?
was actually right as the record was released.
Okay.
So this was after the Kickstarter campaign that I had done for it, and this is after I had actually sent out all the merchandise to fulfill the Kickstarter thing. And I was planning a tour. I was actually trying to book tour dates for a
Yeah.
Canadian tour to promote the record, because when the record comes out, that's what you do. And I was late in doing that. I should have done it 3 months prior, but because of the Kickstarter madness, that's 3 months of your life gone. If you're gonna do
Mm,
something like that through Kickstarter or whatever it is, GoFundMe or whatever it is you're gonna use, like you got to count those 3-4 months of your life as nothing else happening, because it
yeah.
takes a lot of effort.
Yeah.
So I was late in booking this tour, but then I had these real crazy dizzy spells and stuff, and so I was going to the doctor, and they were doing all kinds of tests on me and stuff, and so they finally did the last test. It was like, this is the only, we don't know what's wrong with you. We're gonna do this one last test. And then the cardiologist came in and was like, yeah, you got a hole in your heart. And I was
Oh
like,
man.
what? It was so nonchalant. But that was like right after the record had come out. And he was basically, I was like, well, what about this tour? And he's like, you can't tour right now.
Mm,
So I was like, okay, cool. And then I ended up defying the guy later in the year, because I did end up going and doing a tour later in the year, but I didn't take care of the booking of that tour, which is half of the headache and half of the heartache of trying to get something like that to happen, is put it on somebody else. So right
right.
before I had the surgery, I actually went and did this little tour out west in Canada.
Yeah.
And because I was like, this might be the last tour I ever do, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Hey man, I mean that's when, like you said, when to put it simply, when real life hits, things things that seem big tend to get a little smaller, and we're like,
yeah,
oh, you know what I mean? Um,
yeah.
and it's so aesthetically pleasing, and no pun intended, but what's the heart but behind the cover work, the artwork of the Gas Money? Is it just a simple piece with kind of these cool colors? There's a purple-esque, very, almost kind of looks like a teardrop within a pyramid shape
hmm
around. Is
hmm
there anything other than, oh, this is just a dope design, or was there some thought that went behind it? Does it stand for something for you and your heart, or you know
Yeah, so you asking the question kind of is the answer to that. Like the
mm,
point of me making this Illuminati-esque symbol on the front of this record was to make people go, "What the hell is this guy on about?" And like and really just to be like, this is some people construe this symbol with a symbol for some, I don't know, some ethereal things, or some conspiracy things. And I just like was surrounded by all this talk of like conspiracy talk at the time.
mm,
And so I was like, I'm gonna just do this like tongue in cheek. I
yeah.
mean, the idea of Gas Money actually came from this girl that I was working with. Her name is Catriona Sturton, and she's an amazing jazz player. She plays harmonica, guitar, and a little drum with her feet, and sings all at the same time. She's one of the best. And I connected with her, and we had been talking in the studio one day, and she was like, most of these shows that I do, it's pretty much for the gas money. And then
Mm,
this light just went on, and I was like, man, I'm gonna just write that down if you don't mind. So I just wrote it down and I left it there. And then I came back like a year, or maybe it's 2 years later, that I came back to it. I was like, hey, I'm gonna do this record. I'm gonna call it this. And between you and me, I've always been trying to do like a concept record for the longest time, but it seems like time itself gets away from me. And to do like a concept album, it just takes so much time and effort to say, here's the concept, let me match all the ideas with the songs, and all the songs and all the lyrics themselves with this idea.
yeah,
It's really hard to do that, man. And
it
I
is.
always thought, it's no problem, I can do that. But I always end up coming with a concept, and then the concept would change as the songs go on. So that was one where the songs changed because the producers, I'd used a bunch of different producers on that record, um, which I'm super happy with how it turned out. Landscape and Rick Notes and Fresh Kills and Mocha Only, Eloquent, um, Tone Mason, bunch of really cool, really guys that I look up to, that I think are just like some of the most stellar producers that I had some kind of link with or some kind of contact with. And so based on their productions, I wrote the songs how I heard from the productions.
Yeah.
So that was a case where I really didn't have control over whether or not it was going to be a concept album or not. At that point, I was like, okay, the title track is Gas Money, and Lance gave me this beat, and that's just going to be the song. So from there, everything's going to unfold, and let's see if we can make the songs order out from there. And it ended up working out. And those things kind of do end up working out if you work hard at it. But
Yeah.
but I think the only concept album that I really have. I mean, I did the 13th Floor was sort of conceptual, but again, the songs themselves were kind of, they weren't exactly specifically all in that vein. But the next record that I'm doing, I'm just finishing now. It really is the concept record that I wanted to do forever.
Yeah.
And I don't even know how it happened. I just had all these ideas and all these different influences, and coming here, like it was all written and recorded here. So being here in this different space, and like you say, like what's different culturally, like, you know, just man, just the climate and the food and not being able to go to the store between 2 and 5 because everybody's at home eating or napping or whatever they're doing. You know what I'm saying? Like just stuff like that. Just it has an influence on you that you may not even recognize. So
yeah. I definitely want you to elaborate about the project that you're gearing up for now and everything. Sometimes when you talk with people, it's like, you know, let's focus on what I got now, you know, but sometimes you gotta lay the groundwork and say, like, I have this lengthy this history, this discography, this origin story, and a lot of times this may be people's first time getting familiar with the Rel McCoy, you know.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so I think sometimes it's cool to lay that groundwork. But I want to share with you, bro, my first introduction with you, and it's gonna be mad obscure, you know, and but it was on I'm pretty sure the album was Altered State, but it was a student album, you know, and we all know what time it is with that. But and the song had kind of like, bro, the beginning of the drums and just the beat, and it was just so grimy, like darn, it's kind of like it's playing in my eardrums, like that's how recognizable. And in the beginning, it's like student, relic the oddity, you know what I'm saying? It's like you begin and you come in. So that was my first experience with you. And then I went down the rabbit hole. I gotta find this dude. Where, you know what I'm saying? So elaborating on the new album, where you're at now. But I did have a question. Is there or are they simultaneous and is no difference? Relic the Oddity versus Rel McCoy versus the potential name change or no name change, or hey, it's the same. Was it a stage? Was it a phase? Is it different saying no, this is now moving forward, that was then, or they coincide? You know what I mean? Or is it not, am I, you know, is it just silly? Is it just a silly question? Like, because I'm very
not a silly question at all, man. It's a great question. And this is like some of my like road partners, some of my friends who I've been on the road with dog me about this name change for a long time, because if you start with one name and you decide to change to another, or even a pseudonym, or even a AKA or a previously known as or whatever, it's a really hard thing to bring your audience with you. And so I've heard it from all sides, of like from like Ghetto Socks and Fresh Kills, and we've had these talks about how laughable it is trying to do something like that. It's absurd, actually. So if you're an artist and you got a name, if you don't like it and somebody else has it, who cares? Keep it. Do not change it, because it's just such a pain in the ass to sort of drag people along with you and let them know that you have to change. So my first experience with encountering another relic was on MySpace in 2008.
Okay.
Some random guy just sent me a message on there, and I was excited to get any messages on there, to be honest. I'll be like, yo, 2008, I'm ready. To send me something. Tell me what's up. Hate me, love me, whatever. Don't leave me alone, you know? So this guy sent me a message, and he said, just change your name right for now. You ain't Relic. And we ain't about to have some prep school kid mess up our flex and blah, blah, blah. So I was like, who's this guy even? I was laughing. I was like, who's this guy talking about? Okay, let me look up this other Relic. So I went and listened to this other Relic guy's record. By the way, as far as I understand, he's only ever put out one record. God bless him, man. I just know animosity. I mean, it might be animosity to his big mouth friend who doesn't know who the hell he's talking to. But on the other side of that, I listened to his record. He's a good rapper, man, but it's all political stuff. It wasn't anything like stylistically, like what I was doing. And so I had already called myself Relic the Oddity on the Student record had come out, I think probably before that or at around the same time as that.
Yeah.
Stuff I did with Seven Life had Relic the Oddity in it. So people knew me by this name, but I started eventually I started put my stuff out online, more online on more platforms and stuff. And I started coming across this other Relic now. This if you go and look up Relic right now on Spotify, the first one that comes up, I'll guarantee you it's a hard rock band from France. And I don't know, those guys are crushing it because they've been in that position from day one. They're still there. But if you look and you scroll down, I'm somewhere in this list of all these different Relics.
Yeah.
And so I finally was like, no, wait a second, man. I'm the real Relic. I'm the Rel McCoy. I'm the real McCoy. No, wait, I'm the Rel McCoy. I'm Rel. People have been calling me Rel from time, bro. Like nearly 20 years now calling me Rel. So I was like, I'm gonna just call myself Rel McCoy as an addition to the name. And then eventually I was like, it's just if I want all of my online, if I want my SoundCloud and my and my Instagram and my Twitter and all of those things to have the same handle, it was easier to put Rel McCoy. They were all open at the time, and so I was able to, for me from a marketing standpoint, it made more sense. And that kind of sucks because there really is no intrinsic artistic value to the name change in that sense of it. But yeah, that's basically why that happened. And people still like. I mean, I did this record with Eternia last year. Yeah, and she keeps calling me Relic, and every interview we do, she called me Relic, and because people know me as Relic, people don't, and like Eternia knows me as Relic from when we met ages and ages ago, and you still have friends who were been with me for all these 20 years that call me Relic. So there's people that call me one name and the other, and to me it doesn't matter. But I mean, in terms of where you want to go to find this stuff, that's Rel McCoy is the name to go to.
Yeah. So in terms of painting the picture for this new album, do you put a lot of stock in? And I'm just a stickler for this. I think all creatives have different things that they're very passionate about. But like for me, for instance, naming song titles, right? Coming up with the album title, but then also thinking sonically what you wanted to sound like. And as you talked about, like with Gas Money and having conceptual albums and thinking prior, like, oh, I could do this, I could do that. But then realizing, oh, it takes time to pour into this. One, having them all interweave and having the song structure and staying the same. So yeah, man, I just want to hear you share your heart about maybe even the process of creating or what can we expect with this new project. And by the way, the instrumental album that you put out with Elect, with the flowers, I'm sleeping on the name. It wasn't like Pushing Daisies or something.
No, it was called Melancholy. It was called Melancholy Flowers.
Yes. My apologies. Charge it to my head and not my heart, bro, man.
No, you good.
But that's something that, speaking of superpower, it's few and far between. I mean, not as much these days to have someone that is an MC and a producer, but that can do them both well, right? Because you have some that try to tiptoe that line, and there's an obvious strength, one side or another, a lot of times. But you are, there's the album, Propaganda and Odd Thomas has something called Art Ambidextrous, right? I feel like that's an essence. What you are is art ambidextrous, being able to create these sounds, but then also having that potent pen game and lyricism, and even your style of flow and cadence. I just appreciate you, man, as an artist. I'm thankful that you have given us these offerings, and I'm thankful that you're in a place in your life where you're still bringing forth an offering, because you definitely have a gift inside of you. And I think the biggest thing that is disconcerting is, I would never want to be on earth and then hit the coffin, let it close, and die with this stuff buried in me. You know what I mean? So think about it. If you would, God forbid, but if you were to go into the coffin without Gas Money, without a 13th floor, without this project with Eternia, without what you're doing now. That's
Yeah.
not only the service, I think, for us, but essentially, I mean, for those of us that get to go on that journey with you, you know.
Hmm.
So
I think that's a really good point. I mean, I think it speaks to a lot of what the industry is facing now today with the shortcut. It's sort of the shortcut mentality of, okay, so why is there a genre called lo-fi? And I'm not dissing lo-fi because I love lo-fi. The record we were just talking about, the Melancholy Flowers thing, that, and for all intents and purposes, is a lo-fi record. But why is there a genre called lo-fi? Well, because there's a whole bunch of people that have been told if they don't get their stuff out as fast as possible, they'll never have a chance in the game. And so there's no time for learning. There's no money to pay somebody to mix your records.
yeah,
There's no money to buy more equipment other than an SP404 or what have you. Or maybe there is a bunch of money, but this is what it is now. You've been dictated. This is the style of music that we're gonna make.
yeah,
And I mean, I got Eloquent on that Gas Money record. I love lo-fi stuff, man. So don't get me wrong. But I'm just saying, like, there are things that are born out of people just for essentially being lazy. And I'm
yeah,
going to call it on your ass because a lot of these people, a lot of these artists out here, they just love to take a loop and throw a rapper on it. And I'm not lying. This shit sounds dope. It
yeah,
sounds dope. I'm not saying it's not dope. It's dope. But when you go back to a record like Mecca and the Soul Brother, or you go back to their other record, the Main Ingredient, and if you already know who I'm talking about, if you know, you know. I was just having a conversation with my boy Dak yesterday about this. This sample's layered on layered on layered. Pete Rock is probably one of the guys who put the most samples in one song, and his talent and his skill is based in getting all these different sounds and curving them, bending them to his will. And that was what we were impressed on. And don't
yeah,
get me wrong, I am not an old school head who is going to die on that hill. I'm
right,
sick and tired of the conversation, to be honest. I'm tired of people like boom back to the death. Yeah, you're going to die on that hill. See you later. I
right,
don't care for it.
yeah,
But for me, the reason why I said all of that is that we're stuck in the day and age where being important is the most important, where being famous takes precedence over building your skills. You might have skills, but imagine if you're the greatest in your circle right now, you got to stay ahead of your circle. You can't just stay the greatest in your circle forever because the people in your circle are watching. And a hype man never became a hype man to stay a hype man. The
yeah,
hype man became a hype man so he could be the front runner, to be the main guy. So
yeah,
he's on. Yes, you got to build your skills. And for me, the whole game was always about building on. If you listen to my newest stuff now, you will listen to the stuff that came before that and before that and before that. You can see the progression of stuff, and I think that for me is the blessing where people hear my stuff and say, I'm glad this guy didn't go to the grave with this in his heart. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah.
But like for me, back to your main question, I know I get carried away,
No,
but
you're fine. You're fine. Cause I
um,
ask a question and then I throw out like, and then it's like, so yeah, you're good. You're good.
so you ask about like, I'm glad you did this before. Like, how would you feel if you went to the grave with this in your heart? And I tell like all the artists that I work with, who I produce for or mix records for or whatever, if I ever have anything critical to say, and some of my good friends I said critical things to, and they still can't take it. They
Mm,
still are like, oh man, why'd you hurt me like that? It's not even about being hurt. It's about me telling you, if you don't fix this, it's me saying, if you don't fix this, dot, dot, dot. But that really underneath that is saying, get on my level, dog, because I'm over here. And
yeah,
that's
yeah,
not me bragging. That's just me saying I put in all this work. So the
yeah,
person that goes to class and does his homework and comes in and gets straight A's, and then the person that comes up behind him and gets a B, the person that got the straight A's is still going to feel bad towards that person that got the B because they didn't do the work, they didn't study, they didn't do the, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So you could be an A plus, but you're not. But then you ask me for advice, I give you advice, and you don't like it.
yeah.
So anyway, back to the thing of like, and for me, I tell everybody I work with, man, this is your legacy. This is
Yeah.
what you're gonna leave. This is what you're gonna leave behind. And if I die next year, I know I got catalog. There's artists in my city where I'm from who are way more well known than me and maybe way more talented than me, that don't have catalog. They got one song they wrote 30 years ago, and every year it's like, oh, this is the 26th anniversary of this song. Oh, this is the 27th anniversary of this song. God bless you, man, but make some new songs.
Yeah.
Because you know what? You know why you made that song? Because it's just what you're supposed to be doing. You're not supposed to be planning a whole year about how you're going to build on the song you made 30 years ago and what kind of post you're going to do about it. Come on, B. Just make some new shit that everybody's going to be like, yo, this is amazing. This is wild. Like, not like there's some cornball guys out there that I'm just tired of the game. And that might even be probably why when I was like 2016, I was like, I don't care anymore, man. This is all fluff. All the stuff that I've been dealing with, trying to book these tours with people up in your face, want to rap in your ear after the show, and promoters that do a terrible job, and people that want to help you put out records, but then all of a sudden they ghost on you, and then people that want to finance you and ghost on you, and people that want to feature you and ghost on you, and all of this stuff, man, it just becomes fluff at the end of the day. And then so you really do, whether you have a heart issue or whether you have a family issue or whatever your issue is, you might get to a place where you go, what the hell am I doing?
Yeah.
And who am I doing this for? So, to your other comment, the next record, it really is, like I said, it's the concept record that I want it to be. It's about relationships. And I didn't actually realize that the whole record is about relationships until yesterday. And the album is done. The album is done. And I got to thinking about it because I was like, what is this record about? Like, what's the thing that connects all the dots here? And I realized that as a concept record, like, this is about the relationships that are in my life. This is real weird, man. So it's interesting you said that, like the whole music game really is a relational thing. You know?
Yeah. So what is the project title? What did you land on with that? Or is that not even out of the bag? Because I know when we first talked a couple months ago, said around this time will be good, progress. So I don't know if you've already obviously maybe been doing promo and people know it's in the pipeline.
No, I haven't actually done any promo for it. The record is slated January 20th.
Okay.
So we're still a few months out, but that buys me some time to do the promo that I need to do, or as much as I know how to do, being that I'm back out doing it on my own again. But I can tell you the name of the album is called The Tiger, the Sparrow, the Koi, and the Chameleon. And that I mean, that doesn't really speak much in and of itself, and it might just sound like an fartsy idea for a record, but the point of it is that you got to listen to the songs to get what it all, where each one of those things lands, and and how it all comes together. I'm super happy with it, man.
Yeah, bro. It sounds very and this isn't no dismissive or condescending, but it reminds me of like The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. You know what I'm saying? Like the Sparrow. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it's really cool. It has it's lengthy, but it has a roll off the tongue where it's like it sounds distinguished. You know what I'm saying? It's like
part of the idea I got from a movie. I don't know if you've seen it. It's called The Cook, the Thief, His Wife, and Her Lover. And that is one of my stylistically, it's one of my favorite movies.
Okay.
So I did take a little bit from that in terms of like how that it's got this long ass name that makes you go, oh man, this could be trash. So, but when you watch it, you'd be like, yeah, man, there's something really interesting about how this record is done, or the movie is done. So, and hopefully how the record is done too.
Yeah, man. Shoot, bro. So, and it's so funny, sitting down, prepping and thinking about things, and then you get here and it's like stuff's going a million miles, and it's like this, that, But so you talk about, movies and if not necessarily if you had to pick one, but where in terms of your life, how does films versus books or literature stack up? Are you much of a reader? Because I mean, I even find now that, it's not like commonplace. Some people ain't readers, and it's like to be like adults, right? In a place where life is ever evolving, things are constantly changing, whether it's, YouTube tutorials, self-taught books, whether it's nonfiction, fiction, or self-help book or learning tools and stuff. or sitting back watching a film that, you know, because a film has so much that comes together for it. You have the writer, you have the director, the producer, the cinematographer, the this, that, and the third, and it just takes a team. But then it brings forth this like masterpiece, you know. And a lot of times, or in case unless the film is trash, but you know, it's a medium that's a beautiful thing, and it's like I love both so much, bro. Like I love cracking open just having the pages in my hands, but then I love just sitting back and just not even what's it called, like vegging out, where people say vegging out. No, like when I watch a film, like I'm invested, bro. And sometimes my heart gets moved to even the story that's beneath the story, right? Like the narrative that's being told. Like you talked about conceptually with this album, looking at it and seeing that pattern, that relationship was strewn throughout it. I don't even know if strewn's a word, but you know what I'm saying, that it's through there, you know. So, and watching some film. So do you have a preference, whether it's books or film, or you know, do they both do something? Do you do neither one? Like, would you rather go to a cafe in Spain and chill with your family, you know, and get inspired that way, or you know what I mean?
It's movies and like series now is a big thing. Series is that a word? Series have been a big thing. But that's light work, man. It's easy.
Yeah.
You sit down, you press a button. You don't have to do anything. You don't even have to really research what it is that you're going to be watching, because it's all displayed right there in front of you. And you usually have another voice who's with you. It's like, have you already seen this, or do you want to watch this, or somebody else that you share? Like my wife and I like to watch like specific things. Like strangely enough, we like to watch weird stuff about like psychological behaviors online, and I like and for me, I like books about psychology. Although, disclaimer, I don't make enough time for reading that I want to. I'm so in this room all the time, just working on. I mean, this record itself has taken me an extra long time, because there was I pushed myself to do some. I mean, despite having been mixing records for the better part of 15 years, I pushed myself to do some more research about how to step up the game, and what new. I'm a bit of a gearhead, so buying new plugins and buying new sort of audio stuff for me is kind of like I nerd out about stuff like that, and sure. I will sit here and watch like long like random people, like random mix engineers like Bob Power. I'll listen to one of his lectures or something, or I'll listen to anyway, you know what I'm getting at. There's there's guys. There's one guy named Mike Devine, who you might know, who's real famous for doing like tutorials with Logic and teaching things like that. You know, why Logic Pro Rules is another one. That's a real. If you use Logic, one of the best sites best YouTube channels that you can be connected with. Just learning for me is like has become, in the last 10 years, like learning for me has become a big thing about, you know, about the stuff that I'm interested in, and then learning what other things I might be interested in. And that psychology thing was another that I came up on late in life that I didn't know I had any interest in until I heard some people speaking, and I was like, man, this stuff is real fascinating, you know, or until I countered some people that I was like, what's wrong with this person? Oh, they're a narcissist. What's a narcissist? You know, like, you know, you find out those sort of things. And so you kind of go down that rabbit hole. But in terms of reading, man, like there's a lot of books that I really would like to read that, you know, embarrassingly, I haven't made the time to read. I actually have a list, I think, in my phone of 10 books you need to read before you die.
Oh,
and I don't think I think I read half on one of them. So it's like, I'm not really, you know what I mean? I'm not really putting that, I mean, it's time to be honest, like, you know, so I'm not really putting in the work that it takes to read, but I do watch a hell of a lot of stuff on TV shows and movies and things. Yeah.
Well, listen, man, I want to be respectful of your time, bro. But I do want to open the floor. If there's anything on your heart that we didn't particularly touch on that you want to share, obviously, as we come to a close, we're going to get your links to, you know, your pages, like you said, Rel McCoy, having that, you know, for marketing reasons, having that all housed under that. So we'll get there in terms of where they can find you, where they can find your music and keep up with your ongoings. I know you have a and correct me if I'm wrong, I know you have a newsletter as well that you send out from time to time. So but yeah, man, is there anything in particular that's been on your mind or that you want to share before we get out of here, or are you good or what?
Well, yo, man, check it out. Last year my brother took his own life. And that to me was really like the hardest thing that out of all the things I described before, the bad stuff that I was dealing with,
right.
That I don't know why I'm talking about this, because I don't talk about this with people. But sure. I know that I usually have a part in my live show, or as the last few years, I've had a part before my brother did that. I have a part of my live show where I talk about a time of despair that was in my life. And I literally take 30 seconds out of the show and I just tell people quickly about this is what I was dealing with. And I'm super glad to be here with you guys. And I'm so glad that I did not take my life, because despite being aware how painful things are, I'm also very aware that tomorrow is always a brand new day, and that things do change, and that there are people in the world that care about me, and there's people in the world that I care about. And I believe God loves people, and I believe that he will help whoever it is that calls on him, regardless of what you call him or how you call him. I think God cares about people, and so that for me, it's important for me to say this, because there's not only a lot of hurting people in the world, a lot of people that have thought about taking their life, or even just like a little voice was like, yeah, and then you were like, no. That's the starting of when you can get down to that point to where my brother got to. And that for me is still something that I carry. I honestly don't know how to deal with it. And maybe that's partially why I'm interested in the psychology stuff, because I don't know why at certain times I'm really hard about it, and at certain other times I'm just a mess about it. But there's stuff in life that you're not going to figure out. So find people in your life that are going to encourage you, and that love you, and that know you, and care about you for who you are. Right. And maybe there's some people in your life that you need to just press the pause button on. You know what I'm saying? So I wanted to say that, because I've been noticing lately, I got this stupid TikTok app, and man, that thing it'll not only steal my time, but I'll be like, later on in the day, I'll feel confused. I'll just put it down and I will be doing something else, and I will just all of a sudden feel confused. Wow. Because there is so much information. Like you can stream through that thing, or even Instagram now. It's almost exactly the same thing. Yeah, so you can stream through that thing so quickly, and you can get so much information that just takes you one way and takes you another, and makes you angry and makes you sad, and at the same time makes you want to say something, but then you don't say it. And it's all these things going on. And sometimes for me, like one of the best things that I do in my day is in the morning, I just have like an hour where this thing is not in my world for an hour at least in the morning. And I just think the entire world could benefit from that advice. If you just turn your phone off and get rid of it for an hour a day, or maybe more, I think that you'll think and see a bit more clearly, man. I make music not because I love music, but I love people more than I love music. And so what it is that I do, it's got to help somebody somehow, some way, even though I'm crass and I'm a joker and I don't give a shit sometimes. Like there's lots of that in the music that I do. I still really do care about people, and I want it to do the right thing. I want it to be a positive experience for people. So like you said, man, relmccoy.com, RELMCCOY.com. That's where you can find everything, man. All the links for the Instagram, Twitters, the TikToks, and all of that good stuff. And man.
Yeah, bro. I love it, man. Like I said earlier, thanks again for coming through with the RPR podcast. So I'm gonna keep it brief, but I always like to close in prayer. So if you don't mind, Father, I just thank you for this time. I thank you for Rel, Lord. I ask that you extend your blessing and favor upon him and his family. Let him have a wonderful day today. Let him continue to keep creating and bring more people to what he offers. And increase some ears, because what he has is a beautiful thing, and more people need to know about it. In your name, amen. Bro, there's this saying, I know some people out there in Spain, in particular, they're part of a thing called One School for Artists, which is a combination of faith and art, and it's all different mediums, right? And they would do like a 9-month thing where you do 3 months in Spain, 3 months in Norway, and then 3 months, usually in Baltimore, Maryland, because that's where it was originated. But the people that I know that are out in Spain, and like I said, this is photography, painting, pianist, poetry, hip hop, all of it, you know. But the thing that they say, and I think it's so funny, and I don't know, you've been out there a while, so you may know, but it's bon dia, where they say bon dia, which I think either means like good day or have a good day or something like that. So I say to you, my concert, bon dia, my dude.
Bon dia, my guy.
All right, man. It's wonderful, man. You have a great day, bro. And folks, the RPR podcast, we appreciate y'all. Bless.
Peace, bro.
All right.